I didn't watch season 1. Okay, Frank, go ahead. You're on. You're on.
Just do it. Just do it. Just talk Star Wars.
Start talking.
That's right, everybody. Welcome to JLJ Media and the Ahsoka Aftershow, covering every episode of this 8-part series. Maybe not as quickly as you would like, but you know what? Good things come to those who wait. And this episode will be no different. Right. Joined with me, as always, is first off the creator, the founder, the man who we couldn't do this without, James Lott Jr.
Thank you, everybody. May the force be with you.
And the resident heartthrob and the potential Balin Skull of season 2, John Dunphy.
Hello. Yeah, I have the beard for it, I guess, right?
You have the beard.
That's right. As always, folks, we're going to be breaking down both episodes here. Episode 7, Dreams of Madness, and episode 8, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. We'll have the YouTube chat up and running, so feel free to share any of your thoughts, any of your questions. The super chat is enabled as well, so if you'd like to share any love with JLJ Media, James Lott Jr. would be most gracious and grateful. So without further ado, we'll break down both episodes, but overall, John Dunphy, what did you think of these last 2 episodes?
I really loved them. I have a couple little nitpicks here and there about some things, but I really loved them. I'm excited. I feel like I know everything's leading to a movie or whatever, but I think we're definitely getting a second season of Ahsoka now, and I'm just excited. I'm really excited to see where it goes, especially with how episode 8 ended. I thought everything was great with Thrawn and Ezra and Sabine and Ahsoka finally coming back into the mix, and they're all being reunited and all that. But the way that episode 8 ended with the statues of the Mortis gods, that just blew my mind, and I can't wait to see what happens next. That's all.
James Lott Jr., do you share Mr. Dunphy's enthusiasm?
I share part of it. I enjoyed episode 8. Episode 7 was mid-level for me, but I really enjoyed the series. So the last 2 episodes, there was some great stuff in there. There's some in there also. And there's one shot that brought me brought me to little tears a little bit, which is great. We'll talk about. But this series was way better than I thought it was going to be. I'm glad. I really did enjoy it, and now I'm very curious. I also like John. I feel like it just was too fast. It was 8 episodes too fast. I feel like this is one of the few series I'm like, it's over already. The other ones were like, it's over already. This one's like, it's literally, I could have used 2 or 3 more episodes. That's how I felt at the end.
Yeah.
Maybe if there weren't all those pauses, shots, we could have fit in maybe a whole nother episode or 2 with all that.
Yes.
I don't. For me, I would. I guess it's fitting that I'm wearing this swanky bucket hat. Don't be jealous, everybody. Because I guess I always say even bad pizza is still pizza, which is so. I'm not going to say this is bad Star Wars. It's just is Star Wars. I mean, on a base level, I enjoy Star Wars. As we've talked about in the past, we all have different things that we've resonated with in terms of, really have a strong love and affinity for. For me, it was Andor. Just as much as I've loved all the Star Wars, Andor just really just resonated with me. So this, I guess as the kids will say, it was mid for me. There you go.
I can't argue with you on the Andor point, because I mean, obviously Mandalorian season 1 and 2 are up there, but yes, Andor might be my favorite of any of these.
Same here.
So including Ahsoka now. So
yeah, and it's like comparing that to this, it was just the dialogue, the storytelling. I don't know, it didn't have a lot of the typical Star Wars trappings where we were seeing a lot of the Jedi stuff and them doing other action, not a lot of the Sith or the Empire in terms of our typical key figures that we see in there. So I don't know. But there was just something about seeing this smaller section of the Star Wars universe told extremely well. That boy, for me, it's just like everything that I've always resonated with in Star Wars. It was like, wow, yes, this is such an amazing and interesting take, an exploration of all those ideas that George Lucas put together so many years ago.
Well, Frank, the thing for me is that it's this series, well, all the series. Again, I go back to being the oldest man of the group here, and just never imagining that we'd have series. So I know part of my kind of giddiness when I watch these series is just that because I just never thought I'd see them on TV. I just never thought I'd see TV series for these shows. I mean, like I said, again, books, comics, all that stuff, I knew all that stuff, but I never thought in a million grillion years I would see TV series. Now our fifth one. With Ahsoka, I feel like these two episodes kind of demonstrated it. There were moments of greatness, there were moments of promise, and there were a few things just like missing. I'm like, there's like, if that scene were a little longer and that scene were a little shorter, or if that dialogue was a little longer, if that like, I feel like there were things that were, there was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I didn't, we'll get into it, of course. There are certain things I just didn't buy. It was like, it was implied, this is how this is. And I was like, well, how did we get there? I didn't know we got there already. And with one character in episode 8, that's all we got. I mean, so there's a couple of things I feel like there were some parts missing. I felt like there was moments where this could have been super great, but there was some fun stuff in there too. So for me, it probably is number 4 out of all the ones we've watched. Andor number 1, Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and then this whole series I'll probably be probably 4th favorite, above Boba Fett and Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And Mando season 3.
Oh, that's not my least favorite. So least favorite of all. Least favorite.
Well, John, I'll ask you because I feel like this is Dave Filoni's baby. He was involved in Clone Wars, Rebels. It's a lot of continuation, a lot of the characters that he's been intimately involved with, for so many years in his both animated and live action Star Wars experience. For me, I don't know. It seems like, do Clone Wars and Rebels, are they better in terms of overall storytelling because he also has other writers working on it as well, and it's not a Dave Filoni solo jam, where certainly he's got the overall tour vision, but he's also collaborating with other people, bouncing ideas off. This is just purely written by Dave Filoni, and does that expose some of perhaps the weaknesses in some of his storytelling that having other writers along with him maybe could have helped shore it up?
Yeah, no, I think that definitely has something to do with it. I'm sure, when Clone Wars was first coming out, and that was like kind of Filoni's first, little project or whatever, I guess, he didn't have the trust that he has now, right? Of like being like, take this and run with it. There was a whole other team around him kind of helping out with all these ideas and these stories. And I also feel like, between animation and live action, there's a lot of things you can get away with in animation that you can't really get away with in live action and stuff like that. So I thought this was like a pretty good, first test for him, like getting into the live action world. But I do think that him writing the whole thing, every episode, just him, I don't know. I think he still has some work to do to really perfect a lot of these things. Because I thought this was great. I loved this first season of Ahsoka, but I do think when I look at the Clone Wars and Rebels and all that, like, I don't think it's quite as strong. Ahsoka isn't quite as strong as those two projects. But I still think that he is the man that needs to have the vision that's sort of like leading the helm, but get a couple other writers in there, some other voices, build your team a little bit. Because I think these projects would benefit from it. So
I want to ask you a question, John, because I think, sorry, Frank, I just want to piggyback off of that because I watched Rebels and I watched Bad Batch, and Frank's like bye. Now I'm piggyback off for your original question to him, then his answer to him. So it all goes back to Frank. Just be quiet. No. What I want to say is that I feel, John, those anime series actually really, for being anime series, give you character development. They give you real story, which is really interesting, right? Like I'm not into anime and all this stuff. So for me, those are my first introductions to stuff like that. And I felt like, and I watched some of the Clone Wars also, but I felt like there was more development. And so here, there wasn't as much character development, I don't think. I really don't think there was. It was just more of like presentation. It was like, here they are. You know who they are, right, bitches? You know, whatever. It was like, that was it. There was no real, I wanted to see more between, you know, the characters. I just felt like a lot of them were kind of in vacuums, just kind of like getting through the series on some level, where I feel like the animated stuff, we really got to know them. We really got to know them. I don't know if that's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like one of the things, like early in the season, right? Like we all kept wondering, like, what exactly happened between Ahsoka and Sabine,
right?
That caused this rift between them, where they haven't even spoken or spoken to each other or seen each other. And we finally got that story in the finale from Hu Yang telling Ezra, which was like, okay, we finally hear the story. But I felt like there would have been something really great about seeing seeing Sabine and Ahsoka have that conversation, the two of them, at some point early in the season, even just a little bit of it. Like, I don't know. And I think that would have helped with, certain things like the character development. Like, all right, we're really learning how these characters are feeling, where they've been and what they've gone through. And like, and I feel like I'm glad we got the story eventually, but it doesn't feel quite as emotional, or it doesn't have quite as much of an impact when it's a droid telling it, but
I agree absolutely with that, because that point really just bummed me out. Like, at no point in this whole series did we ever have Ahsoka and Sabine really hash it out. We would kind of lead up to it, and then the conversation would get interrupted and would never be picked up on again. And I'm just like, I want these two characters to have this conversation. I mean, I feel like, for Sabine, that's got to be the hugest thing. Like, from Sabine's point of view, she still has no idea why Ahsoka abandoned her. I mean, we know viewers why Ahsoka stepped away, but Sabine doesn't. And I guess the relationship has been repaired for as much as you might feel that as a genuine lead up, or more of like, where it's because the story is telling you that they're now in a better place, so I think your mileage may vary on how much you may feel as a viewer that mended relationship has been earned. For me, I didn't think it was, because I actually wanted them to have that, like, heart to heart that I never got.
Well, it's like the thing in episode 8 where, they finally meet up, and it was like, so you're not really mad at me? Like, it was a quick conversation. It was like this quick conversation. There was no like really meaningful conversation there. And also that scene where Sabine, I'm assuming, I guess Sabine and Ahsoka are having this mind moment. I'm like, oh, where did that come from? Are they like that now? I mean, like, I'm just like, it's like said, it's cool, kind of a cool thing to get a smooth story along, but it was like, we're missing, like you said, missing a piece in there somewhere that would make it more meaningful.
I think Hu Yang even asked, right? Like, during that moment, he was like, is your bond really strong enough for this?
Yeah, it's like, that's what I wanted to ask. I'm with him. It's missing something. It's missing something. So I just was missing something.
Yeah, especially after it's coming off the events of episode 5, where, for all she knows that Ahsoka's dead, she's kind of like gone against Ahsoka's wishes, and not destroy the globe. So you'd think, like, they couldn't be farther apart if you tried.
Right.
And this is the first time they're coming together, and now is when, like, oh yeah, I can make this mental connection. Like, we're okay, sure.
I was a little bothered by Sabine. I mean, she didn't even look over the edge of the cliff just to see if Ahsoka was there.
Yeah.
When she fell in that sea, like she just saw her fall, and she was like, all right, you guys won, I guess. I'll come with you.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, maybe Ahsoka's hanging on, waiting for you to come get her. Like,
she had to go get Ezra. She was busy. She didn't have time for all this.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, all right. I mean, I guess we'll get into these episodes and then we can talk.
I know. Frank's chomping at the bit.
Yes.
we gotta talk about it though.
Yes. So episode 7 is all about getting all the pieces in place. And they kind of save the big action for episode 8. So it's about getting, we got to get Ahsoka and Hu Yang out of the Purgil's mouth, and we got to get them down to the planet so they can be reunited with Sabine and Ezra. But we get to have some cool bits of Thrawn and the Night Sisters, and Thrawn showing off his tactical abilities. John, now we got to see a little bit more of Thrawn in action. Were you more, how much were you loving seeing your boy in the live action realm?
Oh, I love it. Lars Mikkelsen's voice, it's so good. Like, it's just so Thrawn. I love, that same feeling from Rebels when he would say, these are acceptable losses. Like, it's just like, he's so like menacing and calculating. He doesn't care if he has to put a bunch of his men in danger as long as it just gets the mission, accomplished. Just seeing that cold, calculated Thrawn again. And those, I felt so horrible for those Purrgil going through those mines. But yeah, Thrawn. I love Thrawn. One of my favorite villains.
I agree.
Yeah, James, are you going to be painting your face blue anytime soon? And just
yes, I already started my nails, but I'm gonna do blue. I know. One of the highlights of this series is him. I think that's one of the highlights of the series. And now I want to see this all through. I want more. That's what I'm saying. It just was like, okay, I want more. But he completely is like the highlight of the whole series.
For me, it is, yes, I was excited to see him, but also, we couldn't give our boy more to do.
That's what I'm saying, right? It was like, that was it.
It's repetitive. It is so repetitive where it seems to be him standing there, Night Sisters, do you have any information? Or it would be his main lieutenant coming and talk to him like, we've got this information. Okay, here's an order. And then we look at, what's her name? The other names. Morgan, yeah. And where she's looking concerned and he's like, don't worry, this is going to be okay. And that was it. And it just kept repeating and repeating. It was just like, can't we give something like, something different for Thrawn to be doing? So it's just, I was bummed by the repetitive nature of his scenes.
Yeah, I wanted more.
Yeah,
I wanted more of him. I wanted more of him. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to see him unleash whatever he needs to unleash.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely can be repetitive. I'm sure that he says these are acceptable losses probably like 8 times in this one episode.
Drinking game.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's, and I think we've encountered this problem a lot in the Star Wars shows where they've been so reluctant to show their big bad for the season until way late in the season. And I think I think we would agree that we kind of felt short shrift by how much of the bad guy we get to see in the season. We wish they would have been able to be seen sooner. I feel more so like with Thrawn, especially if you're trying to, yes, he's got that familiarity to the fans from those who've been watching him on Rebels. But if you've not seen Rebels and you haven't read any of the novels and you're just coming in cold on this and you've heard Thrawn being built up, there's part of me that wants that episode that is totally Thrawn's episode, where it takes place after the jump to this to the planet, and seeing how he keeps all these stormtroopers and everybody fully just enthralled and aligned and devoted to him during this 10. You could be a storyline that covers that whole 10 years just super fast, but just something to show how awesome Thrawn is, so that we understand. So by the time that our heroes meet up with him, we're like, geez, holy cow, yes, I don't know how you're going to beat this guy.
See, I was fine with the pacing. Just my thing was, I wish there was more episodes. I'm with you. That's why I'm like, that's the thing. I didn't mind the pacing of them, and they did it. I was like, remember, I loved his entrance and all that, but I agree with that. I just wish there was more of him, and we saw more stuff happen. We got pieces in the last 2 episodes, but I wish there was more. But it's like the season was short a couple of episodes, and I feel like I would take a whole Thrawn episode, at least episode 9 could have been Thrawn. It's like just seeing he's starting to do his damage. I kind of wish there was more, because I love the characters. I did read the books and stuff. I wanted more of the character, but I didn't mind in the series, though. To me, still one of the best parts of the series, because I just thought he looked like him. He was well drawn out. Great actor, great voice. I just wish there was more.
Yeah.
Like John, for you, would you have liked to see in an episode? All we hear about is how he kept his troops together. He brought these Night Sisters back, and he started putting all this stuff into place. We just hear about it. Would you rather had an episode that was a flashback and shown us how he did all this, so we see it, as opposed to just being told about it, so you can show Thrawn being this master tactician that he is?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I absolutely would have loved something like that. because that's still a big question. It's like they've been there for like almost 10 years. Like, how have you survived? Like, what have you been doing all this time? What preparations have you been making? We did get a little bit from Ezra, I think, when they were going back to this tower or whatever where Thrawn's ship was, where he was saying, he woke up the Night Sisters, he rebuilt the ship or whatever. It's like, but I want more of like this was almost a decade they're out there. Like, what was really going on? Because even the night troopers, like, they seem so like they're all their gear is being held together by this red cloth, and like they've clearly had it rough out there. Like, I want to see what was really going on, how they survived, and everything just that happened out there. And I would have even loved like a little bit of a longer finale too. Make this like an hour and 10 minutes, because all they really showed at the end there was him going to Dathomir, and that was it. I would love if they got there and he was like, okay, now that we're here, we need to do this. We need to contact these people. We need to do that. I would have loved it. And you really only needed like an extra 10, 15 minutes of the episode for something like that.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, especially when we have no idea as fans what the next installment is. I mean, we know the Acolyte's happening and the Skeleton Crew's coming, but in terms of where these characters, is it going to be the film? Is it going to be season 2 of Ahsoka? I mean, I don't know. It's tough to, I feel like with Empire Strikes Back, sure, that's kind of ending on a downbeat, but you knew Return of the Jedi was coming. So, it's like, all right, so we know that film's coming, and that we just have to wait these 2 excruciating years to be able to get to see the continuation of the story. This, like, we have no idea like what's happening. Like,
right.
Do we, they could show up in Skeleton Crew real quick and then wraps it all up. And you're like, that's it. That was it.
Right. We might get another season of Mando, and that's where like this picks up or something, like, I don't know. It's kind of.
I felt like I was Frank Moran watching episode 7, because speaking of what we could have used longer of, in episode 7, I kept laughing because there are some scenes that could have been cut. The whole Ezra and Sabine stretch, they're relaxing, going slowly through the desert. I'm like, aren't they being chased? Are they trying to get out of there? And even Homegirl had her legs up on the thing, and they're just kind of talking. I'm like, aren't they in a hurry? And all of a sudden, we see Balin and them saying they see them, and they said, I'm like, this. If this is a lazy way to get them to fight them, it was kind of lazy to me. So I felt like they should have been in a hurry, cut half that. You could have cut half all that stretch in half and added more Thrawn or somebody else, or more Sabine and whatever later. Like, I feel like there was a misuse of time in episode 7, especially when you guys are supposed to be like you're supposed to be rushing out of there. You have to get out of there. I don't know. That was just me.
No, it's funny. It was funny to me because I'm like, is Sabine just like fine with not getting back? Like, she got her man. They have their little notey friends. Like, she's ready to settle down here in this new galaxy. Like,
a good old time.
Yeah, like maybe that's what she was thinking. Who cares if we don't get back on time? Me and Ezra could just live here with our notey children. And
yeah, it's frustrating because there lacks that sense of urgency, and it's just, I don't need. It's like, if you give me that there is a genuine sense of urgency, but they can only go so fast. And so we're kind of stuck. It's going to take us X amount of time to get there. So we're kind of stuck moving slow, although we're very concerned about getting to stop Thrawn. We can only go so fast. So we have these moments where we can have these, other conversational topics that we're going to have about our relationship, about just life or whatever it might be. But I just need like the framework that you are concerned about trying to stop whatever is going to be happening.
Right. Because even when Ezra was asking questions and bringing things up, the only answers he was getting was the same sort of thing he was getting the first time we saw him. And when Sabine just being, oh, it's complicated. It's complicated. And it's like, well, is it something I should know? Because we're not moving very fast and you're not telling me anything. So like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
that whole fight sequence, I'm like, okay, that was cute. He didn't want the lightsaber. Here, it's yours. I don't want that. I gave it to you. You're like, and all about her training. Did you train? You're training. It was such a weird. sequence to me. Just very weird.
Is to jump ahead for the eventual reunion, where Sabine and Ahsoka seem to, have mended fences. She asks him, "Have you been keeping up with your training?" She asks Sabine. I'm like, "How long? You guys haven't been separated that long. It's been what, days, relatively speaking."
Right.
So, it's like, me being gone for the weekend and then come back. Have you kept up with your training? Well, yeah, it was the weekend. I don't know. No, I didn't. So, but it was just like, I don't know. That's the frustrating thing. It's like, not that you want to see a bunch of training montages or anything like that, because we all know the nuts and bolts of being a Jedi. But I also just feel like Sabine's not great with a lightsaber and not a great fighter until she needs to be for the story. And then at the end of episode 8, she's able to just wield that lightsaber back behind her back and blocking ray blasts without even looking. And while the other hand was wielding a gun to shoot other people. I don't know. It's just like, you can't do all this name checking about like the training and then all of a sudden just have Sabine go from like terrible to like, I'm phenomenal now.
Yeah. I was okay with Ezra not taking the lightsaber right away though, because I'm like, it's been 10 years since he's used one of these things. And even when he was like, the Force is my ally, and Sabine was like, well, I really need a lot more help than that. And I was like, okay, well then that's why you should have the lightsaber, so like, but yeah, I know it was definitely a big jump from can't do anything to Sabine's pretty damn good. Like that happened really quick. And like all that really happened between there was a conversation between Sabine and Ahsoka where Sabine was like, I have better control of my lightsaber. And Ahsoka was like, being a Jedi isn't all about using a lightsaber. Train your body, train your mind, trust the Force. And then immediately after that, Sabine was like, Jedi Master.
Yeah. Like, okay, sure. So we get that great fight with everybody there on Peridia. And we see before that, leading up to it, is Baylan Skoll and Shin. Baylan Skoll says, I got to go do my own thing. Deuces, Shin. Why don't you make the call, say that you found him, take the glory. I'll do 5,000. So that was actually a cut line of dialogue. I saw a deleted scene where he did say,
sure, okay.
And then he turned to the camera and winked.
Oh, Deuces is out.
Well, that's right. There you go.
Yeah, no, it was such a, it was like, okay, they're separating, I guess. Okay, here we go. But again, I know what's going to happen. I'm just kind of curious, and we see her descend down there and fight against Sabine. So that was, I guess, that was the point. I guess.
Yeah, we've. We can talk about the Baylan Skoll of it all. For as much as we've all loved Ray Stevenson in the role, we all enjoy the character. Now knowing that indeed his storyline is not resolved, wherever the storyline continues, it's going to have to be a recast. I can't imagine you can't not continue that storyline.
I'll tell you when, and the part that made me get a little teary, I was at episode 8, and he's standing there on the, of course you call that thing, and he panned to him, and it's like he's just looking at them thinking, that's the last we're going to see of Ray Stevenson. I mean, that's it. That's the last we're going to see of him. And that kind of got me a little misty a little bit. I was like, that's kind of sad. What a great actor. And what a great actor. And you're right, Frank. I was just thinking, I'm like, if there's a season 2 or a movie, they can't just write him out and just go, well, he's not here anymore. He took a break. I mean, like, they have to kind of continue the role, right? I mean, they kind of have to, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because John, you would not want to see that storyline continued where they just talk about what happened to Baylan Skoll. Like, oh yeah, he was tried to do this and he died. Like that would be unsatisfying to you.
Right. Like, right. Oh, absolutely. And I think that whatever he's after is very important too. Like, because it seems like, Thrawn obviously wants to get back to their galaxy. And I think part of that is that like they keep talking about some threat, something, on this planet that's going to be a big threat. And that's why like the Great Mothers are trying to leave too. Like they're trying to flee with Thrawn because there's something out there that could pose a threat to, the main galaxy of Star Wars at some point. And it's like Thrawn is going back not only to, restore the Empire and have control there, but to get ready for whatever this big threat is in this other galaxy is, that's coming. And it seems like whatever, it's funny too, because when I think back to earlier in the season, like Balin kept talking about Peridia and this other galaxy and how these were like child stories, like fairy tales that they were told in the Jedi Temple. And now he gets to this planet that he didn't even know was real or not. And something out there is so strong calling to him that, it's like, I feel like that can't just be the end of like where whatever Balin was doing has to be over now. It's like, there's definitely going to be a lot more to that, I think. So I don't see how they do it without recasting the role, which sucks because Ray Stevenson was awesome, but they have to continue the story, I think.
Yeah. Who would you get to recast? Anybody come to mind?
I've heard a couple of names out there. I've heard some people saying like Gerard Butler. I've heard some people saying Liev Schreiber. Also, Sean Bean was another one.
Oh, some good actors. Good actors.
Yeah. So I think that they could do a good job. It's not going to be the same, it'll never be the same. But
it's funny because when it comes to recasts, and and Frank and I deal with this in soap world, some of them are very highly successful, and sometimes we don't know why. Like you just don't. I mean, sometimes it's not even about acting. You can have two great actors play the same role, and just one works, one doesn't. I always think of Spartacus, who was on Stars, and the lead guy died of cancer. And they had to replace Spartacus. The second guy I thought was very good. And I thought the writing was pretty decent. For some reason, it didn't work as well. And the show basically died off. I used the words, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if it's the show's fault. I don't know if it's the actor's fault. I don't think it was. It's just it's weird when someone's so beloved. It's like, how do you recast that? I mean, it's part of the Star Wars universe, so it's always be recast here and there, but like, how do you do that? And will it be successful? Because he was just so beloved and died so, so for folks, it was kind of tragic for folks that, he's wasn't that old, and oh my goodness, it's crazy. I guess it's like kind of a shocker. So I don't know. I mean, that's what we really get. All those guys you named are all great actors. They're all great actors.
Yeah.
Frank?
I would think like what he's maybe like Luke in Empire Strikes Back, he's going to get attacked by a creature and his face will be disfigured. And then through his healing, we see it's a whole new actor playing him. There you go.
I love it.
There you go.
The Force could heal me, but I can't look like I was before.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
So in the meantime, while all this is happening up and around the planet, we've got Ahsoka and Huyang trying to get to the planet to catch up with Sabine while she's dodging Thrawn. So she's flying through just this huge debris field of all like dead Purgils, just the Purgil graveyard, just cruising through there. I don't know. I mean, interesting scenes in there, I suppose. John, did you enjoy the space chase?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. What was the part where they were? This was like another thing that felt very repetitive though. Like when they finally got into the debris and they kind of like hid out, and Thrawn being like, "Oh, we don't have to waste our resources." Like it just felt like a little repetitive again with like him coming in with that same sort of line. But no, yeah, it had the same kind of feel too of like the Millennium Falcon, right? When he's when they're trying to get away from the TIE fighters, so they go into the asteroid field and then they hide in one of those asteroids there or whatever. So it had that sort of feel to it too. It was good.
Yeah, it was always just like, you were not going to why waste resources? Oh wait, now she's escaped the debris field. All right, send more resources. Oh, the asteroid. Okay, don't send more resources right now. It's like, it was always either Thrawn was sending resources. Oh, it was acceptable. We lost those resources. Or no, we're not going to send any more resources. It was, like, okay, can we get a different answer? No, all right. But Ahsoka and Huyang make it planet side, where at least Ahsoka is able to see Balin's skull, and so jumps out there, and they're able to have their little momentary duel, where Balin's skull is like, "You can't stop me." Given because we had no idea what was going to be happening in episode 8, were you satisfied with the Baylan Skoll and Ahsoka match in there, James Lott Jr.?
Satisfied? No. Wasn't satisfied. It was cool, but I wasn't satisfied. I just feel like I wanted more. I wanted more. I wanted different. I mean, again, I know that it's, you know, it's all subjective, right, or whatever. But I just feel like I wanted. It wasn't as thrilling as I thought it would be. I guess that's the best way to put it. It was okay. It was fine, but it just wasn't as invested as I wish I would have been at that point. Episode 7, or whatever, you know, the later season, I feel like I should be more invested, but they didn't do enough. It feels like it was a little disjointed to get to that point. Those guys, these are 2 big characters that you would want this big, you know, thing.
Especially for like a repeat matchup. Like, this didn't feel any grander than the last time they fought.
Yeah.
When Ahsoka fell off the side of the cliff and everything. Like, that fight was exciting because I felt like it was the first time they were really, really facing off against one another. And then I expected like the rematch to be a little bit more, you know, just bigger and grander and better and all that. And I felt like it was just kind of on that same level as the last fight, where it was like, and maybe part of that is because, you know, we know Baylan, Shin, Ahsoka, and Sabine are all still there on that planet. So maybe the thinking was, all right, you know, the next season or the next time they see each other, because they're all still there, you know, that'll be the big one. I don't know.
Well, it's like well, my whole thing is, so as we jump ahead a little bit or whatever, so they reunite with Ezra briefly, but then again, he's gone. They're separated again. So you got him for a minute. So why separate them again? I was like, so does Sabine stay to help us? So that's another story. But I just feel like it's like, oh, okay, well, this whole season was like trying to get them together. They're together for one episode, with her feet up and the little, I call them little snails or whatever, going around doing their thing, just la da 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 in this desert, and then they get separated again.
I mean, I could think the only reason that happened was that they needed somebody to be able to come back to tell the rebellion or the New Republic about the danger of Thrawn. So, but like, to Baylan Skoll with you, John, because I feel like this is another example for both of you. Like, I feel like we were playing the cards too close to the vest with Baylan Skoll and whatever his agenda is, and we still don't even really know exactly by the end of episode 8 either. But I just feel like I feel like it did no justice and no favors to Baylan Skoll, because even Thrawn goes, well, where's Baylan Skoll? Not that was it, just one sentence, and never dwelt on again by Thrawn.
There again,
With this master tactician, like, he would probably be wanting to know, where's my boy? You know, he's supposed to be going on a job and he's not here. Why isn't he here? What's he up to? And I just felt like without Ahsoka knowing what he's up to, like, their confrontations mean less, because she has no idea what the deal is. Shin doesn't even know what the deal is. So even if they were to, you know, Shin was supposed to like turn or whatever and be helpful or still be fully dark, she can't really talk to anything that Baylan was doing because she has no idea either. So I don't know. John, do you feel satisfied that Filoni doled out the information as well as he could have on Baylan Skoll, or did he leave a lot left unsaid that really kind of frustrated you as a viewer?
I think there was, unfortunately, too much left unsaid. And I think it's similar to how we were talking earlier, right? About it would have been nice to have that conversation between Sabine and Ahsoka about what happened between them. You know, the whole reason it seemed like Baylan was leaving Shin was because she's on a different path and she's so focused on this, you know, and he says, take your place to the, you know, in the new empire. And it seemed like he was like, you know, we have to part ways because our visions are too different. You know, we're going in 2 different directions. And I'm like, in the same way that Sabine and Ahsoka could have spoken, and maybe they didn't always have to be so estranged, right, and separated from each other. Maybe Baylan wouldn't have to leave Shin if he just explained to her, like, this is what I'm going to look for. Like, this is what I'm in search of. This is my mission. And then maybe she says, oh yeah, that's more important than, bringing the new empire about and seeking power in this kind of way. Like, I want to go and see your mission through because what you're trying to do seems really important or whatever, but we never get a conversation. Like, obviously, like, he probably doesn't want to tell Ahsoka or anyone else, but why not his Padawan, his apprentice? Like, why wouldn't you have that conversation with Shin if you think that she's going down, a path that you don't want her to go down, and whatever Balin's doing is so righteous, and like that's the thing that they should be focusing on. Like, talk to her about it. So I think that, like, in the same way, like that whole master apprentice relationship on both sides, whether it's Ahsoka, Sabine, and Balin and Shin, I feel like there was a lot that we could have gotten that we didn't. And like you said, maybe some of those pauses that we were getting throughout the season, if they were a little shorter, we could have fit more dialogue in. But
James, I'm going to ask you about our title character, because we get down to the end of episode 7, and it is a reunion now. We get to see Ahsoka sees Ezra. They get to have a nice hug. She's all, got a big smile on her face seeing him. How do you feel about Ahsoka's journey in this season? Do you feel it was a satisfying arc for her? Do you feel she is a different person than she was at the beginning? That the fact that she was using Anakin's training footage and name checking him by saying Anakin a lot is kind of like a different tone for her? How are you feeling about her?
I love your line of questioning, counselor. It's like it's set up to, I'm like, no. The best I could put is I got more out, because we haven't talked about this yet. I got more out of Hera's journey helping her out than I did Ahsoka's journey, period. Her limited scenes, I felt them. Where Ahsoka, I'm like, lots of staring into the space, lots of wistful looks. I don't know. I mean, she's perfect. I like Rosario Dawson in the role, and she's perfect to play the role. It's fine. Again, I think it's just the writing, and if I'm very honest, because I said I enjoyed the series, but if I'm very honest, there was no overall. I mean, she didn't have an arc. Not really. Sabine had a partial arc. And the chick, and Morgan had an arc, basically. Just going from I want the power to her, we'll get to when she dies. I feel like they have work, but even with Hera, I was like, I have to say, because I did love that scene with Mon Mothma, our girl, and C-3PO showing up. I was like, oh my God. I was like, but who's voicing him? Because Homeboy's gone. Like, but other than that, I was like, C-3PO shows up. I love it. Saves the day, and Senator Organa's mentioned. But I felt like Hera had more conviction, more spunk. We saw different parts of her, but she didn't have a lot of scenes this season, but I feel like I know her more than I do Ahsoka. I always feel like with Ahsoka, I'm not sure what she's thinking. Like in general, like I don't know what. I mean, I feel like we got like in Andor, we saw Cassian's thought process. We got to feel what he's feeling. Even Mandalorian, we got a lot of his storyline arc and his journey. Even Boba Fett, even though he was so like, why am I running this place? We still saw him in his kind of journey. I just feel like you're right. There was something lacking. I'm like, 'cause I enjoyed the character. I enjoyed seeing her in it. I enjoyed her fight scenes. I love her, and I like her in the role. But you're right. I can't honestly say I saw from episode 1, episode 8, this gigantic stretch of life in her that I don't know. You're right. I don't feel it.
John, can you please rebut James Lott Jr.?
But
I honestly I tend to agree, honestly, for the most part. It seemed like it was very conscious, like that when the season started, she's wearing all gray. After the whole World Between Worlds, she's wearing all white. Like, she's clearly gone through some kind of transition. But other than kind of like being a little bit more cheery, smiling a little bit more, joking around with Hu Yang a little bit, like there wasn't very much that changed with Ahsoka over the course of the season. So I don't know. I mean, it didn't. I do agree with James that it didn't really feel like there was that much of like an arc. It was more linear for her. It just I will say one thing. Those recordings, we have to see Luke again at some point. We saw Luke in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, and with the recordings of Anakin, Ahsoka better give some of those to Luke. Recordings of his dad, doing like Jedi lessons. Oh, Luke needs to have those. Totally off topic, but something that I was thinking about. I was like, give those to Luke now.
True. Well, because even like when her ship goes down, not knowing if they're going to be able to get it back up and going again, I was like, well, make sure you retrieve those discs of Anakin on there, right? You want to keep those, don't you? You don't want to just leave those behind. I don't know. It's just, we've already talked about episode 5, and everybody's going to see Ahsoka's change to bigger or lesser degree, however, whatever they're reading into that as well. For me, I never bought that episode, and so it was tough for me to get behind the rest of the season, thinking that she is a changed person, and it's going to mean a lot to the conclusion of the plot. That she needed to go through this change to be able to stop Thrawn, or now I guess we just have it where she's just like, oh, we're here where we're meant to be, and we didn't get to stop Thrawn, but we're on this planet now, and let's just.
I guess there's one other thing I would say. It's just there was a conversation that she had with Sabine, where, especially once Ahsoka and Sabine are reunited, after Sabine completely ignored what she said and didn't, destroy the map. She made the decision, and to just go with Baylan and Morgan and Shin to this new galaxy to find Thrawn. And initially, I would have thought that the next time Sabine and Ahsoka see each other, Ahsoka is going to lay into her, and that didn't happen, obviously. And instead, we got Ahsoka talking about how, my master was the only one that ever really had my back. And even when nobody else believed in me, like he always did, he stuck by me. And I guess that to me would be the one thing that I point to as like growth, or like a little bit of an arc for Ahsoka, because in the past, I don't think she would have ever really wanted to acknowledge that Anakin, who became Darth Vader, was her master. Everybody links her to Darth Vader and all that. And it's like, so the fact that she's kind of let go of that baggage and been like, all right, I can still remember, the good things that Anakin did for me and the good things that he taught me. And I can take that lesson and now apply it here and be like, no matter what, Sabine, no matter what happens next, I'm going to have your back, and maybe that's something that before this season started, she never would have done in the past, because why is she going to take anything from what Anakin taught her? Because Anakin turned out to be one of the most evil people in the galaxy, so I guess in that way, there was a little bit of growth on her part in how she's now looking towards her training Sabine. But other than that, like, I really can't point to anything else that, from this season.
Well, they show Anakin at the end of the series. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? They show at the end.
Yeah.
I wonder, my thing is, I don't know. I'm not in the writer's room, folks. So don't write me letters, anybody. I was wondering, though, with these series, do they want to delve deep into psychology? And I feel like sometimes a lot of these series are surface, and I wonder if that's done on purpose. I just wonder if it is. If it's done on purpose. It's a half-hour show or 40-minute show. We just want to throw something like I think we've had this complaint on almost every series at some point, where it's like they should have did this or went a little deeper here. I'm just wondering, like the She-Hulk we did, like, is it meant to be just like surface and not that side? Not, this isn't Law and Order or Chicago Fire or whatever. Like, I just wonder, is that the point?
If you hear like Dave Filoni speak about these characters, and about like even like Phantom Menace, about why Qui-Gon Jinn had to die in that, and you listen to him, and he gets really deep into all the the ramifications of that choice. So I mean, I feel like he's thoroughly steeped and invested in what these actions, how these actions impact the characters. And so I feel like they are certainly invested, and they think about these things. Whether they are successfully able to translate those into storytelling beats that also makes the audience feel like we're also enriched and understand where these characters are coming from.
And that's my point. It's like they do interviews and sound. Everybody does interviews and sound. You know, like, oh my god, my product's so good. I want you to watch it. But then I'm saying, why is it not translating? You know, that on screen. I'm like, it's just like it's like because I've seen people do interviews where just so like, and the characters, it's like, I'm like, that all sounds great, but what I just watched for an hour and a half was none of that. Like I wish you had written that because that sounds really wonderful. I feel like we don't see it enough. Maybe Mandalorian, we did see it in the first couple of seasons here and there, but like all the other series, and Andor, we saw it somewhat there too. But some of the other series, they talk so deep about the series. It's like that sounds amazing. And you watch it, and, you know, we're seeing doing these shows going, well, you know, it didn't do this, it didn't do that, it didn't do this, and I'm just wondering, is that the point? Are they incapable of making a serious, deep Star Wars series? I think the three of us could write one and write something really deep and serious and have canon and all stuff. And we could. I think I could do it.
Is it? Does any of it have to do with, you think, just the number of episodes? Like Andor was 12 episodes, right? Like, was Mandalorian 8 episodes? Were those both?
I think 10.
Were those all, 10? They were all 10, right? Like, is this 10. Is this too much to cram into 8 episodes? And so important, critical things are being left out.
You can do. I will challenge that. Not you, because you're asking a question, but just I would challenge that. In 8 episodes, that you can do that, because we're all saying, again, I hate to compare it to soaps, but it's like sometimes I'm like, I just need a 2-minute scene sometimes with a certain kind of dialogue or a certain 2 characters together that would tie it all together, you know. Or let's cut out half of this, like this whole sequence that makes kind of no sense, that goes on for 10 minutes or 8 minutes or 7 minutes. Cut that in half. And give it to something else. It's like I feel like time restraints are a little bit part of it, but I think you can. If you organize, as an organizer in my life, if you organize your time telling a story, you can tell great short stories. I mean, you can tell great. I mean, there's great short stories out there. You can tell it. I just think that I'm just wondering, because they have an even time too. Like we said, some episodes were 30 minutes, and some are 45, and some are like, maybe we should go back to every episode's 47 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever, 48 minutes, and just go from there. And maybe this freedom is too much. Maybe it's just too much. Maybe it's just like, okay, this is too much, because there are episodes from other shows where, like, but again, you know, like that person only had one line the whole episode. Like it's like that's makes no sense. So anyway, that's kind of my thing. So I'm not sure if it's the time. I think you can tell a good story in 8 episodes. I think you can. So I've watched some series. I could name Shrinking. I can name Morning Show. There's a lot of shows I watched that they tell good story in 8 episodes.
Yeah.
8 episodes.
Yeah.
Only Murders in the Building just had its finale. Told great story in 8 episodes, and that's a half-hour comedy. When they did 8 episodes, and it was wonderful. Man, I love that show. They had their finale last night too, and I was like, they told great story, and there we go. We activating for next season. So I'm like, it can be done. I just wonder with these Star Wars series why this. And also I think another second thing. I'm sorry, but this now you got me all riled up on my soapbox. But I think the second thing also is the Star Wars universe is so rich that you literally could dig. I mean, you can just dig anywhere and find stuff for your series. There's just so much, and so much that you can also create because it's so rich and vast that you can actually expand on stuff too. And go places that never been gone. That's like Star Trek. Go places we've never gone before. Forgive me, folks. I didn't do it on purpose. But you know what I mean? It's like there's so much to mine from. And when you get these iconic characters, I believe the audience is ready to go. We're ready to go for the ride. We're ready to go. Okay, where are we going to take us? Let's go. And I think we all want a good story to go along with it. And I just feel like there's been some I feel like, yes, Dave Filoni and them are good in it because they believe in the Star Wars brand and they like it. I get all that, but I feel like it's not fully translating on some of these series.
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, I'm liking this, I'm liking that, I'm kind of liking this, but I feel like it's uneven, and it's a shame because there's so much you can draw from and slash create. I don't know what you guys think about that.
So, well, do you think then, like, and this kind of came up before too, with Dave Filoni being the only writer of this season, like, do you think that, like, he's too close to some of these characters, like that it's blinding him in certain ways? Like, should there, obviously he's probably always going to be the writer of the majority of these episodes for as long as Ahsoka goes on and whenever the movie comes out and other shows that come out. But like, is he too close to these characters and too tied to them to like be the sole writer? Like, should there have been at least 3 episodes of this season that someone else came in and wrote, and Dave Filoni still has, like a supervisory thing of being like, I want it to come out this way or that, but like to have a different voice, like I feel like could his closeness to these characters and like the feelings that he has for them and like certain things, like could they be blinding him to like certain ways the story should be told, as opposed to just, no, Dave, like get off of this one thought, like you have to do it, we have to do this now too, like I don't know, maybe I'm not even making any sense.
No, I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know if that's the answer, because some people, they write the series, that's fine, I don't care, right? So, but my thing is, I feel like sometimes they're holding back. Like we just said, we're not getting enough of these villains. Like, give us the villains. That's kind of part of the whole story, right? The right, good versus bad, evil versus, like, let them go all out. Let them do shit that's bad so we can see it and like just like give it to us, and then give us a reason to really root for the people who are the leads. I think there's times where he just holds back. But again, I know it's a personal preference, because all 3 of us like Star Wars and if we were told to write a series, we may write it 3 different ways. I mean, it may just be that he's the only writer. I don't know if that's it. Some may say, who listen to this, go, yes, that's it. I don't know. I mean, Tyler Perry only writes his own stuff too. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes people get upset about that, but I don't know. But I just feel like, since you are big Star Wars fans, you say there's so much you can do. That's not even you have the keys to the kingdom. What the fuck? Yeah. Like, you have the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, and it is a common theme. It's not just an Ahsoka thing. Like, how many times we talked about with Mandalorian, like, Moff Gideon is a fantastic villain. The show's not going to be worse if Moff Gideon and Giancarlo Esposito is in it more.
Hello.
Like, that's what we want. It's like that's something that I always have thought is very strange to me. Is like, you have these great villains and these great actors portraying them. Why are you only giving us like these little tastes of it? Like, I don't want 8 episodes where like 7 episodes of it is, all the good guys working on their stuff. And then like, 5% of the entire season is like, we finally get this great performance from this villain. It's like, weave the villain in throughout the season. Give it to us.
Yes.
And that's been a common thing with some of these Star Wars shows that I just don't understand. Like, I don't really get. Even Book of Boba Fett, it was like, how long we were waiting for the Pikes to show up, and like, that I don't really get. But
especially when you look at the A New Hope, I mean, right up in your face, Darth Vader's right there.
Yes, he is.
Him being dad, we see him cut in and out the movie. It's not like they waited until the very last little bit to roll out Darth Vader. He's in there. You know how bad this is all going to be.
And then Frank, here's what's funny. Then the opposite worked in Rogue One, because we knew it was a prequel of sorts. At the end, when he shows up, it makes complete sense.
Yes.
When he comes, you're like, oh my God, and he starts killing everybody. You're like, that was a shocker, but it made sense, right? So in that case, it did work. But right, A New Hope, we had to see him right away and get it going. Let's get it going, kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I know we've talked about episode 5, and that is an episode that I feel like, if there's been a writer's room where, because like the conversations between Ahsoka and Anakin could have been so much more. And I would think having another voice or 2 in the room with Dave Filoni to bounce it off, like, right, Dave, maybe we just don't reshow a bunch of Clone Wars footage. Maybe we actually just have them actually talk as human beings to each other and share their fears and frustrations with each other. Instead, cool, we could recreate the Clone Wars on a smaller scale.
But Frank, isn't also part of this TV world, you're competing with the movie world, I guess, on some level. So I'm wondering if they're just like, we do so, because John and I enjoyed it because it was kind of fun to go back and see it and blah blah. It was fun. But maybe it's at the point they're trying to give us these flashy bits because it is a TV show, and so they're trying to do that instead. I'm just trying to, like, I'm trying to figure out what the the thought is. It's like it's there's potential. I still think, and I'm sorry. I go back to for Boba Fett just a second. I go, you have Danny Trejo for one episode, like what, one scene, 2 scenes, and that's it. The Red Horse is there. Like, I don't understand. Anyway, wait, back to your thing. I'm wondering if that's they went the flashier route because they had the opportunity to do so, possibly, maybe to make the series more.
But I would counter with that, like, we talk about Andor, like how many times Andor was pretty judicious in the amount of like big scale stuff that they did. And when it did, you were like, whoa, that's cool. Awesome. But you were never, when you didn't have that spectacle. I mean, that scene with Stellan Skarsgård or, Andy Serkis's speech in the prison. It's just great dialogue delivered exceptionally well. You didn't need a bunch of flashy stuff in there to be like, oh yeah, that's why we're watching.
But Frank, to be frank with you, we three enjoyed it. I know a lot of people I talked to out there who are like, Andor is my least favorite.
Yeah, they're idiots.
Yeah.
He said it, John Dunphy. For all you listeners at home who are not seeing this, John Dunphy just said that comment. But I'm serious. I love Andor. Well, it was okay. I know we loved it. And some other folks, I know a few other folks loved it too, but most of them are like, I really love this one. I'm like, you did? I'm like, so I'm just wondering are we too smart?
No, I mean, I think, there's always room for spectacle. Even, the most sophisticated of stuff is going to also, I think that doesn't mean like a fan won't want to enjoy spectacle within there. Like I would have, spectacle could have worked in that episode, but I also needed to have, you could have kept a lot of that Clone Wars footage, I suppose, but I also just needed some real conversation rather than just some circular talking points that they had between Anakin and Ahsoka. So you could have still had those flashbacks. You still could have had her as a child talking to him in the Clone Wars, but having those conversational moments that I think, I as a fan of those characters and the excitement of actually seeing that scene together, would want to have, like, holy cow, this is a chance for them to really talk about everything. And for me, it's like they talked about nothing.
Right. Yeah. And everybody, will see you next time and have a nice weekend.
And that's true. It had been 2 weeks, and I was so bummed by this whole series that I forgot all about the Hera and the C-3PO.
That was a fun scene. That guy was like going off on her, and I said again, it was a great, well acted scene, some great dialogue, and I just thought I saw Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She really gave some great acting. I mean, this whole thing, and they went to court martial and everything. And then when C-3PO comes through, it's like, oh my goodness, of course he would come through. The whole crack with the droids, that was kind of funny.
Holding Chopper back.
Yeah, so it was so funny. It was like, just buy a droid, and like it's like an attitude. And then my mother comes up to her and going, now you and I both know, like, I'm ghettoizing it a little bit, but she was like, girl, you know that Lori Organa didn't do shit. And she was like, well, she came around too. I just thought that exchange was wonderful. And of course, the actress who plays my mother, we love her, and she's from Andor, and we love her. I got hair in my mouth. But anyway, so I thought it was a great scene. It was a fun scene, and bringing C-3PO was fun. Also, it was fun, and mentioning Senator Organa and the whole thing. This was kind of fun. It's part of that time period. It makes sense, and it's not taking you out of the story. But I thought it was a fun scene. I thought it was a really good scene. So I did like that. So again, like I said, there's always potential, but then we didn't see Hera enough either. She had one episode basically that was hers, but other than that, we didn't see enough of her.
We also didn't see Zeb at all.
Nope.
No, that was so disappointing.
We didn't see her son again, who I was into anyway. But you saw covers on there. We're gonna see them again. I guess, like I said, I think the season was too short. Yeah, it was too short, but also they didn't allocate the time correctly.
Don't pretend you're not into Jason, man. Come on, we know.
Okay. I
do think now. I think Ezra is going to be training Jason now. Kanan Jarrus, Jason's father, trains Ezra. Now Ezra trains Kanan's son. Perfect.
See, that all sounds wonderful, John Dunphy. That sounds like that'd be a great thing to do. But will they do it on this series? or movie, will they show us it more than one quick scene? Like, I'm just wondering, because the animated series, they would show us everything. I was wondering in this live action world, that all sounds great and wonderful and legacy, but will we actually see that? Going to Frank's point.
No, we're only going to see two scenes. One where Jason's like, "Oh, this is hard holding this lightsaber," and then the second scene of him just whipping ass with that lightsaber.
It's so hard.
That's it. Those are the only two scenes you're going to see of him.
God, I love it.
And all of a sudden he's going to be Jedi Master Jason.
Oh, I love it. You're like, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of our point, right? It's like we see it.
Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, I know that the realities of our world, our world that we're talking about, prohibit Carrie Fisher reprising her role as Princess Organa.
Yeah.
Question, speculation, in a world of a hypothetical, in a world where she was still with us,
in a world
where Carrie Fisher is still living. Do you see her reprising her role and being de-aged like Mark Hamill was?
Yeah, I do. It'd be smart. She would do it. Anything Star Wars, she'll do it. She said she'd always do anything Star Wars, she would do it. She would totally do it. It'd be fun. It'd be totally fun.
But see, that's the thing that's killing me, because the way they've treated the New Republic, it's like a bunch of, in the bigger picture, Mandalorian season 3, and in this little bit in Ahsoka, as just a bunch of idiots.
They're all the dummies. They're dummies. They're all big dummies.
But in a world where like Leia, Princess Organa or General Organa, Senator Organa, is able to kind of shut that room down just by saying, "Nope, I'm with her on this." Word to the wise. That like how? Why are these all like? Why is this New Republic acting like a bunch of idiots? Like, it's also like you also have Senator Organa out there who can just ride herd and shut all this stupid stuff down. You guys, they should be more on their toes. And for me, it's like, I know that at some point it has to decline for the First Order to rise, but that doesn't mean you have to write them as dummies the whole time. I'm all about like people operating at the top of their intelligence and still making poor decisions that could lead to the fall of the New Republic and the rise of the First Order. Now It just feels like you're writing them as just a bunch of dum-dums. And so it's like, yep, I guess, that's why we see the First Order rises. Like we can still write them smart and bad things can still happen.
Yeah. Because maybe they just lose. Maybe they were doing okay, and then unexpectedly, Thrawn comes back, and they suffer huge losses, and that leads to the rise of the First Order. They don't all have to be complete morons running this new government. Like sometimes people lose in war, and then a new regime takes over. Like that just happens. It doesn't mean that all the people that were there before were dumb. But yeah, every time that they portray the people that are running the New Republic, like they're all just the worst people. None of them graduated from school. It's it's I don't know, that they really kind of lean into that a little too much, I think.
Everybody, I mean, they're all rehabilitated. What are you talking about? Everybody's fine.
Yeah. They killed Morgan. They just killed her. They're like, bye, bitch. She's gone.
Oh man, that's right. I gotta tell, it was cool to see that blade of Talzin again, because we've seen that in animation in the Clone Wars. Mother Talzin actually fought Mace Windu with the blade of Talzin in the Clone Wars. So to see that in live action was actually really cool.
Nice. Well, let's talk Morgan Elsbeth, because we're going into 8. We get to see her in her kind of journey this season, where she is kind of officially made a Night Sister, and we get to kind of see that introduction. And they give her the blade as well too, and she's all about it until Ahsoka and the crew get too close to the ship, and Thrawn's like, "We need more time, baby. We need more time. You know what we need, baby? We need you, baby. We need you, baby, in that blade." They go hold her up a little bit. John, were you satisfied with Morgan Elsbeth's arc this season?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Like I in that moment when she's saying like, "I understand," I feel like in her head she was going, "Oh crap! Like really, I have to die now." Like, I don't know. I for some reason I had a feeling somebody was gonna die.
Yeah, me too.
Coming into the episode, and I'm thinking, all right, it's definitely not going to be Ezra, Ahsoka, or Sabine. Obviously, it can't be Thrawn. And I'm like, I don't really care about the Great Mothers enough because we just met them. So like, who's left? I guess either like a Balin or a Shin,
Right.
but Balin's just off doing his own thing now. So like, it's by process of elimination. I was like, I guess it has to be Morgan. I guess Morgan's going to be the one that dies. And I thought like the fight between her and Ahsoka was pretty good. Like I enjoyed watching it. Like the blade, against Ahsoka's sabers. It was a cool fight. But I don't know. Like when she died, I was just kind of like, all right, well, that's it. Bye, Morgan. Like I don't know. Yeah, it didn't really have an impact on me one way or the other, good or bad. I felt like I don't know.
I agree.
Now is that blade now lost, or can the Night Sisters just recreate it whenever it is needed?
It seems like they can literally just conjure it out of thin air.
Yeah. Because I'm like, well, why doesn't Ahsoka just keep it? Since she lost one of her lightsabers, now she's got this cool blade as well too. So she's, part lightsaber, part, this cool blade. But who knows? Who knows, Dave Filoni?
Dave Filoni. See what he said. What he thinks.
I will say it is cool that we've gotten now multiple blades though that started in animation that have come to live action. First the Darksaber, and now this blade of Towson. Like the fact that they're coming into the live action world, that was kind of like just exciting to me. Just cool to see these weapons,
As you mentioned Shin real quick, my one last thought on Shin is we see her once she realizes she's outnumbered at the end of episode 7. She takes off. She hops on one of those beasts and rides off into the sunset. You would think, given the way that Balin talked to her, how she's really wants to make these ties in with Thrawn and his people, that she would be going back to him. But we see at the end of episode 8 where she just shows up with these bandits. I have no idea why that was happening. Because wouldn't it make more sense for her to go back to Thrawn, to be with him, to get reinforcements, and then take out Ahsoka and Ezra and Sabine? So
I assumed, I assumed that she was going to be going back to Thrawn. But my theory, I guess, was that she didn't because she felt like she failed, and they know they're on such a tight timeline here to get out of there, and she felt like maybe if I go back now, I will have gone back a failure because I didn't kill Sabine or Ezra, and now Ahsoka's there. And there's maybe not enough time because I think part of the whole reason they called all the stormtroopers back because they were ready to go. It was like there's not enough time to send additional resources out with Shin to now go and pursue Sabine and Ezra and Ahsoka. And all she's going to do is walk back with her tail between her legs because she wasn't able to even kill them anyway. So like, am I just going to be killed when I get back to Thrawn because I didn't complete my mission? That was my feeling, was like Balin abandoned me. I can't go back to Thrawn because I failed. So let me just go find those bandits. Unless her ultimate goal is now thinking, I don't want to go back to Thrawn. I know Balin's out here somewhere, but I don't know where. Let me go to the bandits, and then maybe I can track down Balin.
Yes, boy, it would have been cool to hear any of that. I don't know.
Yeah, because at the same time, she might be thinking, let me just hide out for a while because maybe she knows Ahsoka and Sabine are stranded, and maybe she wants to even see if she can, maybe she was scared at first, but maybe she's like, well, screw Balin, screw Thrawn. Maybe I'll hang out here for a while, and then maybe I can reconnect with Ahsoka at some point. I don't know.
Yeah,
totally writing my own show.
Because it's like if Thrawn's calling back his people because they can't, they got to go and they know they're not going to stop Ahsoka, then cool. Why don't, like, for me, it's like Shin could go back too. It's like, well, you already pulled all your people back too, so what were you expecting me to do by myself? So see you later. But then I guess that leads into the whole where was Balin's goal? What's he up to? Stuff,
right,
which maybe Filoni doesn't want to deal with at the moment.
It's like those stormtroopers just got out of there. They got on those transports and they left. They weren't like, Shin, get on the transport with us.
No,
like they were like, all right, we're done with you now.
Yeah, bye. And we know there's room because a lot of the stormtroopers didn't make it back.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of room for Shin to be able to hop back on if she wanted to.
Right.
So in the meantime, though, Thrawn does in one of his great repetitive scenes where his boy comes in and says, Grandmaster Thrawn. We've got sensors have located, Ezra and Ahsoka's ship. So they sent out a couple ties. They disable the ship momentarily. Sabine's able to get it going enough where they're able to take the two TIE fighters out, but the ship is damaged. Who knows if it can be fixed? And Thrawn is getting ready to make his great escape from the planet. So what more to do is just to hop on a couple beasts and ride like the wind to get there. I don't know, James. When we saw Thrawn's goal is then like he's just going to unleash all the gun turrets on him, just kill him before they can even get to the temple. I don't know that I wanted to like that scene, but also I was just like, well, this really accomplished nothing. Everybody made it in. Thrawn looked like a chump. How did you feel about that scene, James?
I felt we should have had a Thrawn Ahsoka scene at some point. I feel like that was the one thing missing this whole series. Even if it was brief, just something where they kind of like, or they're looking at each other while he's taking off, or I feel like there was something missing between the title character and your head villain.
Would you have been fine with it being Wrath of Khan like?
Right.
Where
yes.
They're only communicating on the ships. They're never in person together, but they're still communicating.
That's fine. Wrath of Khan was the bomb. I mean, the original. Sorry, the original. Ricardo Montalban was working it out with William Shatner. He was working it out. No, it was the bomb. I mean, it's still a confrontation, and I think I needed something with those two. So all these scenes you're mentioning, like leading up to stuff, it was just all, and it felt like just scenes leading up to nothing. I mean, like I said, their plan didn't work, which is fine. I'm totally fine with that plan. If we're going to do a season 2 or whatever, that's fine. But I felt like it was missing one of the key ingredients was missing of, why didn't our lead have at least one kind of exchange with the lead villain?
Yeah, because we got at the end when Thrawn was pulling out, he connected to Ahsoka's ship,
right?
But not in a way that they could converse together. It was just Thrawn being like, good effort, but victory is mine, and then they left. And it's like, no, like, can they talk for a second? Like,
exactly.
Two of them talk, like, and it's the same thing with, we never got Sabine and Ahsoka actually talking to each other, or like Baylan and Shin actually talking to each other. Like, we could have used one short scene of Ahsoka and Thrawn going at each other, even just through a hologram, whatever, and we didn't.
Nope, I agree. So to answer your question, there was bigger things missing for me. It just was like, all this stuff was just laziness getting us to an end of a series.
To go back to that last scene that you were mentioning, John, with Thrawn and Ahsoka, we see Thrawn make his jump back to our galaxy. But then we see this. I felt like, why do we see all this of Ahsoka like dealing with the turbulence of that jump? At first I thought like, oh, is there some kind of like ace card that she has where she's going to be able to ride the wake still of it? But no, it was just like her kind of trying to get the ship under control, and then that was it. I was like, why do we spend so much time on her doing that? The editing of that scene kind of frustrated me.
I just didn't understand what the point was. Like, why are you even chasing them? Like, because you're not going to be able to shoot them down with your little starfighter. So like, my initial thought was like, are they going to chase them and then try to like dock on somewhere before they go into hyperspace, so that unknowingly Thrawn can carry them back to the galaxy with him? And it seemed like they were just chasing after them to somehow engage and try to damage the ship or something. But like, it's a huge hyperspace ring and a star destroyer. like you're not going to be able to stop them with one little ship, Ahsoka. So like, that's why my thought was they must be trying to latch on somewhere so they can go through hyperspace. But that didn't seem like it was ever the plan, because she just sat there and let Thrawn continue to talk, and then Thrawn just took off and left. And I'm like, so why did you even follow him?
Exactly. I thought the way that scene was being played, that Ahsoka had one ace up her sleeve that we didn't even know about, and she was going to unveil like, this is especially when he's like, oh well, I knew your master and I knew how he would think in this, so I know how you're going to think in this. And I wanted that moment to be Ahsoka be like, You didn't think about this. Boom. I've journeyed, because of episode 5, I've let go of the baggage that I've had with my master. I'm my own person with my own ideas. And here's a really cool moment that you weren't expecting, that Anakin wouldn't pull, but I would pull, and you wouldn't be able to prepare for that. That's what I was thinking that moment was leading up to. And it didn't. And I'm just like, well, what? Why? Okay. Sure. We get to see her like, whoa, this turbulence is crazy.
Yeah.
Leading up to that, though, as they make it inside the temple, Thrawn, of course, who's got it's all about delaying them. That's his whole big thing. Hey, as long as I can delay them, we're gonna victory is assured. We're gonna get away. But then they make it to the temple, and of course, Thrawn's a little flustered that his great military barrage didn't have any effect. So he gets the Night Sisters Mom, my guns didn't work. What else can you give me? So I guess the deal is that they have these night troopers that may already be dead already, or there are humans that are willing to be killed and be resurrected by the Night Sisters. But we get to see zombie stormtroopers. John Dunphy, how excited were you to see zombie stormtroopers?
It was all right. I can't say that I necessarily was specifically excited about the zombie stormtroopers, but I was excited to see the Night Sisters use this sort of magic again, because this is something that we saw in the Clone Wars. The same type of magic was used in a battle between the Night Sisters and Count Dooku in the Clone Wars. So it was cool. So it was kind of cool to see that same sort of thing in live action again. But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of whatever.
Yawn. I was like, am I watching The Walking Dead in space? What the F? I was like, a zombie stormtroopers. Dumbest shit on earth. I was like, I can't believe I'm sitting here watching this. I'm like, really? And this is what I'm watching right now. I'm like, and I started trying to kill them, but they're dead. So how can you kill them? They're dead. So I mean, we saw with the last one, you chop off the head or whatever. That's fine. But I'm like, this isn't The Walking Dead. They do that better. So let's just why are we even? This is again, we could cut all that shit out and do something else.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised to see it though, because I know that this is something that the Night Sisters do, and so it didn't surprise me that it happened. It also didn't make me go oh wow, this is amazing. But I was like, oh, all right, this is something the Night Sisters do. Okay, all right, you need a little extra time, throw some zombies in there, sure.
Why not? Yeah, right.
There was, and maybe this is the difference in animation and live action, but the way that Ahsoka, just the framing of shots was, I thought, kind of uninteresting to me during all these zombie the zombie stormtrooper sequences. But the way that Ahsoka was just wielding her lightsaber to deflect the night troopers' blasts, it was just kind of so slow. It's just hey, yeah, I'm just here and I'm just kind of leisurely batting it away. It just felt so I don't know. It did not see her nonchalantness of wielding those lightsabers just felt didn't match the gravity of the situation. Holy cow, there's a huge bunch of stormtroopers. Oh, guess what? They're also zombies. Whoa, this is crazy. I'm just gonna be here, just kind of swinging my sabers, liking those shots. Oh, I was maybe in animation you could have, you tilt the camera a little bit more, you make it a little bit more intense. Yeah, you get the energy pumping on that. In live action, I was just very underwhelmed by all this.
I do also have to say I was somewhat surprised by the mindless zombies somehow knowing to all stay out of the fight once Morgan got there, and Morgan and Ahsoka were fighting each other. It was all of a sudden the zombies are don't attack. They just know to stand in a circle on the outside. Wouldn't they still be trying to get to Ahsoka?
It was weird to me because we've got the night troopers that get killed and get brought back, and we see them kind of closing blast doors as they're going up the temple to kind of delay them. But then we also see doors being exploded and other night troopers running through quickly. So were there also just other night troopers stationed there that hadn't been killed yet? Those are the ones running up the stairs? because I couldn't quite tell, like, well, when are the zombies running fast? Are the zombies using explosives now? What's going on? How are they getting through these doors? Or is it a completely human still faction group of night troopers?
Right. Yeah, that's a great point, because it's also like, how would the zombie troopers know to not attack the regular troopers? Like, are they all just trying to kill everybody now? Like, are the zombies just trying to kill everybody? Because isn't that what zombies do? They want to eat brains. Doesn't matter whose brains they are, right? Like, like, so that yeah, I hadn't even really thought that much about that, but that's true too. That's very confusing.
What you guys are trying to do is make sense out of something that's nonsensical. That's what's happening. You're trying to make sense out of something that makes no sense. So,
because like even like Ezra, when he gets caught by one of them and he's all freaking out, I'm also thinking like, well, they're not going to bite you, so you don't have to worry. Plus, he's got a mask on anyway, so how would he even bite you? Even if the bites were something that would make you turn into a zombie, I was whatever with this. But we do see they they do find Morgan Elsbeth with her cool little blade of Talzin ready to go. Ahsoka says, "Hey, don't worry, guys. I got this. Sabine and Ezra, you go up there and stop that shit." And so we get a moment where Ezra and Sabine are fighting a couple other, I guess, higher ranked night troopers. And this is the moment that we all were waiting for this whole season, of Sabine really showing that she's got these force powers under control. James Lott Jr., how satisfied were you to see that, like, Sabine be able to call that lightsaber to her and get her out of that sticky situation? James seems to wake up. We're still doing the show.
Oh, okay. That's high. I mean, again, we don't see enough of her arc. I mean, I just feel like it's not her fault. The actress is great. It was not her fault. And I think it's just, I mean, it's like, okay, she calls it to her. She's able to get out of the situation. Okay. It wasn't anything exciting.
John, were you satisfied with Sabine's Jedi growth?
That's your answer. That's your answer right there.
Here's what I'll say, though. I thought this was weird. Okay, like, the first time that we, like, if Sabine called that lightsaber to her and she got it, like, and that was the first thing of, like, I know there's been hints at her using the Force and stuff throughout the season, but, like, in this episode anyway, if that was the first thing we heard about Sabine and using the Force, I might have been a little bit more like, she did it. But, like, right before this was when Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra were all riding into the tower, that whole temple, on the Howlers, and Ahsoka told Ezra, like, Ezra, door, and, like, he reached out with the Force to open it, and then she was like, Sabine, help out. Then she reached out her hand, and it's like, I guess you assume at this point she's helping, but is she really? Because we haven't really seen her use the Force. It felt like the first reveal of her using the Force, though, should have been her calling the saber to her. So, like, the fact that we got that after Ahsoka was saying, Sabine, help Ezra open the door with the Force, I was like, so I guess she has the Force, and now it feels like the big reveal that we should be getting, like the first reveal, should be her calling this lightsaber. I don't know. Felt like that was, like, out of order to me. Like, I don't know.
Great point there, John.
I agree.
Yeah. And also, it's just, yeah, again, one of those where it's like, once you see that, when somebody's got the Force, then all of a sudden they've got it all, because she's easily ready to go and Force push Ezra over to Thrawn's ship, where, yeah, understandable, I could understand Ezra's reluctance in that moment, where it's like, hold on a second, are you sure? Because so far you've only called a lightsaber to you, that I know for sure. Are you really going to be able to float me all the way over to that starship? But she does. Ezra gets over there, takes out the troops. Sabine's going to go join him, but then Morgan Elsbeth and Ahsoka show up there up top, still fighting with all those stormtroopers. And this was, I guess, Sabine's big moment. We see her in the first episode running away from any sort of responsibility, and this time she stops and she stays with her master. John Dunphy, you cried at that moment, didn't you?
I was trying to think of something. I was trying to think of something witty to say, but I have nothing. It was nice. It was a nice It's a nice moment. I think it would have been better if, maybe we had some more Sabine and Ahsoka conversations earlier on, like to kind of build that whole thing more. But
again, like the editing kills me on this, because we see Sabine running towards the ship, but then she doesn't look back, seeing Ahsoka kind of struggling with Morgan and all those troopers. And then we just cut exclusively over to Ahsoka and Morgan, and they're fighting. And then just when it thinks that Ahsoka's done, then she's not alone. Sabine shows up and starts doing her Jedi stuff. It was just like too long of a gap, where it's like, why would Sabine have just waited that long before she intervened? Wouldn't she have just intervened right away?
Right.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna just stand by, and if she needs me, I'll jump in. Like, no, you would just jump in. If you're gonna have those second thoughts and you're like, I'm gonna do it, then get involved right away. I'm gonna wait for a really cool moment, and then I say that she's not alone and she doesn't, it's not set up right, it's not gonna really play off. So
I'm gonna wait here until someone says the word alone, not knowing when it's gonna be said. But then I'll step in.
And of course, we've talked about Thrawn getting away. And then we cut over to where it seemed like a weird jump for me, because Thrawn and the Night Sisters, they all head to Dathomir. So for whatever is going to be happening down there with all the cargo that they've loaded up in Thrawn's ship. So we see them heading there, but then we cut to a shuttle heading over to the New Republic fleet. And, Hera and Chopper and a few of the other people are there, like pulling their guns, waiting for whoever's going to come out of this. And again, another poor editing and pacing scene for me, where it is just Ezra doing this slow walk out of the ship in full stormtrooper gear. And then we see Chopper just kind of come up and be around him. And then he puts his hand on Chopper's head and then finally takes the helmet off. Would you not, especially if you saw all these guns pulled at you, would you not take your helmet off right away? Maybe even before you got off the ship, just to be able to identify yourself. I'm coming in, an Empire ship. Maybe I should let everybody know for sure that I am who I am. I'm not a bad guy. But no, we get this really long reveal.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense to not have the helmet on even when you're walking out of the ship. But I guess for dramatic effect, they wanted to.
Yeah, but did you feel it was dramatic, James? Did you feel it was dramatic, or did you just feel like, why are we doing this?
I felt, why are we doing this?
Yeah, and then I wanted, like, we wasted so much time with that, and then yet when we don't even really get to see Hera and him hug, we just get to see her say, Ezra, I'm home, and that's it, and we just see them kind of get walking towards each other, but that's it. Like, give me more of that. Give me more of like, holy cow, Thrawn is back too. The stakes are super high. No, we just spent so much time on Chopper rolling up to him and patting him on the head. I just felt like, man, guys, it can both be a heartfelt moment, but also a sense of like danger is coming, or not even coming. It's here. Thrawn is back. I feel like that scene can serve both purposes. And instead, we just got a really drawn out scene that really, I feel like, just did not deliver on what I had hoped for.
I feel like, especially because of that conversation that Mon Mothma and Hera had, being like, how real is the threat of Thrawn coming back? And Hera being like, we have to, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Like, it would make sense then for the season to end with Ezra telling Hera, like, Thrawn's back. Like we have to figure out what we're doing. Like, it would make sense to end the season on that. And it was like, we barely even got a reunion between them, let alone Ezra now being on a New Republic ship with a New Republic general that he knows very well, and Hera being like, Hera, Thrawn's back. Like, that's how you should end the season.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a bummer. But then we cut down back to the planet where we see Sabine, Huyang, and Ahsoka have kind of gathered back with their little teenage mutant Ninja Turtle friends, and Sabine and Ahsoka just had like this really kind of nonsensical just conversation about like, oh yeah, we'll put everything in the past, or where we're supposed to be. And then they just look at this energy coming from the sky. And John, I know you know the name of this. It has to do with the elder gods, right? Of the Force.
Oh, the Mortis gods, the one.
Yes. But when they're looking at when Ahsoka's just looking at that starlight or whatever, that almost like a bridge of light in the sky at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it kills me again with the dialogue and the choices that Filoni makes, where we see a moment between Ahsoka and Sabine, and then Sabine looks at that little light beam and goes, "I thought I saw," and Ahsoka saying, "What? I thought I saw." Oh, nothing.
Yeah. Just talk about it.
Yes. Yes. Say words. Oh.
I don't understand. Yeah. That's something that I don't understand in these series, is that we get teased so much. It's like, you want to tease something early in the season, that's fine. Stop teasing us in the season finale of the show. Like, answer some of these questions.
So I look at this series very similar to Cobra Kai. The guys who wrote Cobra Kai were huge Karate Kid fans of the movies and everything. And it's almost universally, so far, just about universally known that the series is very highly rated. The fans are loving it. They have new fans, and they also have the older fans, like my brother, who with a fine-tooth comb, he's like, no, this series is really, they're faithful to the originals, plus again, huge canon, all these characters. My buddy Sean Kanan, of course, came back for last season. And he was really good in it. And Mike Barnes from Karate Kid Part 3, they used him very well. Like it's almost because you asked the question earlier, Frank, that's very valid, legit. Because these characters are like Dave Filoni, they're so into the series, you would think that would make it good, because you think, oh well, they're into the series. And that goes to your thing, John, about are you too close? That's a good question. I don't know, but these two guys apparently they're carefully bring in past people. Like, everybody has shown up except for Hilary Swank hasn't shown up yet. But everybody else in the past has shown up at some point, and it made sense. And there were lots of winks and also good stuff, and conversations were had, and you found out where they've been all these years. Like with these shows, I feel like that's lacking. But these two guys are huge fans of this franchise. Apparently, they're doing it correctly. Again, goes to, if Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, all these guys are a huge fan of these series, a fan of the movies, and fan of whatever, then shouldn't they be better?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe it's because for the Karate Kid gentlemen, because it's a duo, maybe at least having, even though they're both big fans, at least having, another head to bounce ideas off of. Because they're gonna, while you're both aligned and loving this property, both may, like you've talked about, James, you're gonna come at it with, possibly slightly different sensibilities. So you're able to at least be able to bounce ideas back and forth on when you're just in a vacuum. And who knows how much he's bouncing anything off of Jon Favreau, or if he's just, or Kathleen Kennedy, or he's keeping it to himself and he's just doing his own thing. I don't know.
Is Favreau, maybe nobody even knows, but is Favreau still as involved as he was when like Mandalorian started, or has he taken a step back? I feel like we don't hear as much about Jon Favreau being involved in these projects anymore, and I wonder if that has something to do with some of this.
That might be the case too. I don't know. I mean, certainly, yeah. If you're to read all, or how much credence, or you can give to all the online stories and YouTube videos that you see about, like, oh, inside Lucasfilm, this is what's happening. It appears to paint the picture that it's kind of more a Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy jam, with Favreau kind of the odd man out. But I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because it's funny. Like, I sometimes listen to podcasts and I read things where I'm like, I feel like I see a lot and hear a lot of people complaining that, like, they don't know where this show is going. Not necessarily even a Star Wars thing, but like, where is this show going? I have no idea what's going to happen next. And like, sometimes I roll my eyes because I'm like, part of the fun of watching these shows is being in suspense of not knowing what's going to happen next, or, being on the edge of your seat because you don't know what twist or turn the show is going to take next. So I feel like some people have started to get like frustrated with like not knowing exactly where a show is going to go. But I feel like part of the fun is not knowing. But at the same time, I feel like that's different than some of the complaints we're talking about here, where it's like we've had 3 straight episodes of Sabine when somebody asks her a question, either saying it's complicated or nothing. Oh, no, nothing. It's like that's different than being annoyed with like not knowing what's going to happen next. It's being like, why can't Sabine ever have a conversation where someone asks her something and then she answers it? You know what I mean? Like, and I think that is the writing, which I love Dave Filoni, but he wrote the whole show. So like if after 3 or 4 episodes, I'm still hearing Sabine just say like, oh, it's too complicated or it's nothing, or I don't want to talk about it right now. It's like, it's a shame. It's a crime in the writing. I think that like Sabine is not allowed to explain herself on any of these things. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Because I don't know if it's necessarily like a writer's fear of like, oh no, I can't reveal that because if that happens, then then what am I going to do? It's like, no, there's always going to be story. I mean, heck, look how big the like James was saying, how big the Star Wars universe is. There is always going to be story. So there's no reason to like drag out, character introspection or be cryptic in conversations, like have ongoing in multiple scenes over episodes and episodes where conversations are so cryptic. No, have the conversations. Stuff will come out of it, and that's where the story comes from. Just I don't know. It's like don't hold back, because what does it gain? It's just I feel like it's more frustrating. There's going to always be stuff to talk about. And lastly, guys, we get to see Anakin Skywalker, your boy is a Force ghost, just having a little smile at his former Padawan and her Padawan. So I guess his great Padawan walking off into to join those little rock creatures. Again, I don't know. Maybe that cameo at the end would have meant more if it would have tied more indirectly to episode 5. Like, what was that indeed Anakin? Was that the Force ghost? Like the Force ghost of Anakin, we know that takes place after Return of the Jedi. Right. He's gone through his whole arc. World Between Worlds Anakin that we saw, who knows what the deal is with that is, because the show, it never really, Dave Filoni played his cards too close to the vest. We have no idea when that took place. No. So it's frustrating. Like, that's the Anakin I wanted to see this whole season, was post Return of the Jedi, that can have those conversations with Ahsoka. And we just get him teased as a Force ghost with a little smirk at the end.
Yeah.
Me and my bucket hat are not too thrilled.
Yeah, I love your hat. That's the best part of this whole episode today is your hat.
Yeah. Oh, man. Boy, the more I keep talking about this, the more I'm frustrated. And it's not to say that I hate this. Anybody that's watching or listening, I do not hate Star Wars. I don't think any of us hate Star Wars, but everybody's going to take out of it whatever, different. You're going to take something different out of it. So we just want to make a platform for everybody.
Yeah, we talked to death, everybody. We talked to death. There's no more.
Yeah, I will say that like I still loved these last 2 episodes for what we did get. I love the season as a whole. I'm excited to see where we go next. But having this talk with you guys almost felt a little therapeutic and like pulled out frustrations that I didn't even know that I had with the show and the season. I still loved it though. I can't wait to rewatch the whole season now that it's all out. 1 through 8. I can't wait to rewatch Ahsoka, see if I missed anything or whatever. But it certainly had its flaws.
And my last word on it, because we're talking to death. My last word on it is, I enjoyed it overall. It looks like a Star Wars series, which I appreciate. So all the attention details to the music and the sets and all that, I do appreciate all of that. The actors are all good, so I mean it's not a problem either. The casting was great. The actors were good, and I really mean that they were. Rest in peace to Rey. It was wonderful, and the cameos we got were fun. And I mean, I really did. I mean, again, it's like my 4th favorite series out of the ones we've watched, and I do like it. And I am curious. I would love to see it continue. and possibly improve upon what they have. But I want more Thrawn. That's the last thing.
Yeah.
No, for as
I
much
will
as
also say. Oh, sorry. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I will say, for as much as I'm critical and frustrated, if there is a season 2 of Ahsoka, I'll be right there watching the night of premieres. So it's not like I still love Star Wars. I'm going to be right there watching whatever next comes out of the storyline. So, John, what were you going to say?
Just that I will say that I am thrilled that like the Mortis gods have now been introduced in live action. So like I'm super curious to see where this goes. And that's why I feel like I know Balin's story cannot be over, because the Mortis gods clearly have a connection to this planet, and this planet has to have a deep connection to the Force, even though it's in a different galaxy. And obviously Ahsoka.
It's too late. They're gonna walk away from this podcast going, they fucking hate the show. That's what they're gonna say.
No. But
but
because Ahsoka also has a connection to the Mortis gods, in that she died, was brought back by the daughter, who then died after. So people think that like the essence of the daughter now lives in Ahsoka, as almost as if she is a part of like this Mortis god sort of trio. But the father represents balance, the son is the dark side, the daughter is the light side, the mother is chaos, Abeloth. And there's a lot of theories out there that Abeloth could be potentially this big threat that Balin is being called by, that could pose a threat to our galaxy, the main Star Wars galaxy, at somewhere down the road. So that I'm excited to see. I'm really, really, truly excited to see what they do with that. And that's the last thing I want to say.
I love that John is the kumbaya of Star Wars series. It makes me happy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would rather.
That all sounds wonderful. It's not going to happen. Like, well, that all sounds great.
Yeah, I just wish we were in a world where the sequel trilogy hadn't happened.
Yeah,
for whatever all the reasons, but it's just I feel like knowing where everything needs to go eventually, I feel like just kind of puts the cap on how crazy everything could get with from Ahsoka to get to that point to Force Awakens. It's like I'd rather not. I wish there was no ending that had been written right now, so that way sky's the limit. Anything is possible.
But
that's too late for all that. So yeah,
it certainly is, and I guess it is now too late for us to be talking about this show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this experience that has been the Ahsoka After Show. Rest assured, we will be back for the next Star Wars series, which will be The Acolyte, coming sometime in 2024.
Excited for that.
There was a trailer that came out a few days ago for that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We got to see about the Skeleton Crew also, because apparently that was originally supposed to come out this November, and now with the writer's strike.
Yeah, the writer's strike.
With the writer's strike and the actor's strike, I have no idea. So, but that's another one that's on the horizon.
Oh, and we'll be there. In fact, James Lott Jr. has already started a channel for it, so subscribe to it now. Be there early. Vote early, vote often here at JLJ Media. That's what we're all about. But thanks for everybody that's hopped in the chat. Share your thoughts. Thanks for everybody that super chatted while we've been talking. We really appreciate that as well. But if you want to stay in touch with any of us, even after this Ahsoka show's over, like you go back and you, like John Dunphy, watch all 8 episodes again, and you have more thoughts. And you're like, holy cow, even after 2 hours, John, James, and Frank didn't touch on this little thing. I wonder what they think about blank. You can ask us. John Dunphy, where can they find you to ask you those kind of questions?
Yeah, you can find me, my personal channels at jdun89 on Twitter and Instagram.
Slide into those DMs. Or slide into those DMs.
Yeah. Find me there. Or if you like reality TV and like shows like Big Brother and Survivor and The Challenge and all that kind of stuff, check out my other podcast at Strat Chat Pod on all social media platforms. Thank you.
James Lott Jr.
Oh my God, I love you guys. The most fun part of this whole thing, we do all these shows, is doing it with you guys. So, and I want to shout out Kim McAndrew, who was on the first half of the season. She had to go because she got a job with Disney, ironically. But I want to give a shout out to her because she was a great voice on here, and Maybe she'll join us for next. Maybe the schedule will work around. She must be still a part of GLG Media, so I want to give a shout out to her. But I love doing shows with you guys. It's hilarious. We have a good time. And my Wednesday nights will just never be the same until we have another Star Wars show again. Like, what the F am I going to do? But you can find me on James Lott Jr. is sold at James Lott Jr. Also on your platforms. And I'm not cheap. I don't come cheap. I am expensive. Frank?
That is true, but also extremely generous. James Lott Jr. sent me a little special gift to celebrate the 8 years that we've known each other. And holy shnikes, I've been thinking of him while I've been getting clean. So.
Ooh, that's all point. Rub all those areas.
There
Frank,
you go.
I know. Happy anniversary, Frank Moran. I mean, that's 8 years we won't do this stuff together, so I appreciate you.
Wow.
And you've only gotten more handsome.
Yeah. You see me through all my hairstyles. Yes. Yeah, I love it. And John's been a great addition to our
Absolutely.
Oh, thanks. Thanks very much.
We see him through his hairstyle.
Dunphy. But follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you'd like. I'll be documenting the great story of this bucket hat and giving it all the attention it deserves. At Happy Go Jackie. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending your Wednesday evening or whenever you may be watching and or listening to this with us here on the Ahsoka Aftershow. Until we see each other again, and we will. Unlike Ahsoka, which does not tell you when anything is happening after that, we're going to tell you we will be back. May the Force